Today, an article was released by comicbookclublive.com announcing a new Ben 10 series will be in the works in comic book form. While it's not the animated continuation we assumed would be the next installment in the franchise, I still have high hopes for this series, and definitely encourage supporting it when it releases, and I'll tell you why. But first, how's it going to work? Well, I assume we'll be getting updates as time goes on, but all we know for now is it will be created by Dynamite Entertainment, known for titles like The Boys, Vampirella, and previously working on other Warner Brothers properties. In addition to Ben 10, there will also be a run for Captain Planet and the Planeteers, the Herculoids, Dynamite and Blue Falcon, and Thundar the Barbarian. Currently, aside from the Herculoids, there are no creators attached to any of these projects, including Ben 10. But hey, if they're looking for one, I may have been spending the better part of the past few years doing something similar to this. But regardless, with only the first few steps taken getting Ben 10 printed on the pages, it's safe to say that in the current state, the series can go just about anywhere. Maybe it's a return to form and we'll get to visit the classic series again. Or maybe it'll continue after Omniverse and we'll finally get that galactic road trip. I'm sure the reboot still has plenty of stories that it would like to tell, but personally, I'd like to see a new version entirely. Making Ben 10 a comic book is the perfect way to try to garner a fresh audience by experimenting with a new medium. And while Ben 10 has had comic books before, they were always supplementary and often non-canon material to the Prime series. A fair amount of them were pretty enjoyable, but it's safe to say that these weren't given that much priority in terms of quality art and storytelling. But if a comic series was going to be the new main focus of a Ben 10 story, it would benefit the most by being the core of its own stories that it tells, and thus deserves its own continuity. And I don't mean just like an alternate or what-if world either. I mean starting from scratch, pretty much what the 2016 reboot did. Rework the whole storyline, throw in some new twists, and put a spin on it that you can only do in a comic book style story. Sure, keep the baseline characters and alien roster, and all of the things that make it feel like Ben 10. But to me, the comic would be the strongest if it stood on its own, as the pressures of tying it to anything that came before might deter new audiences from giving it a read, or push away older fans by sullying their perfect view or whatever they think of the previous series and debating on whether or not it's even canon. I'd say just make it non-canon from the start. But of course, a continuation of any of the things I said prior would also be pretty fun too. It really seems like whatever they can do, they can tell a good story. But it also got me thinking about how expansive the themes of the story could be. And for lack of a better word, mature. A Ben 10 story free from the shackles of broadcasting standards can push these stories further and give us stories we may not be able to see on Cartoon Network. I'm not saying just go straight to the blood and gore, but when you write towards a more mature audience, you can have stronger and deeper characters and storylines. James Mangold, director of Logan, puts it best when transitioning the X-Men characters into an R-rated film, saying when the studios let go of the expectation that this film is going to play for children, you're free in a myriad of ways. The scenes can be longer, ideas can be explored in dialogue, or otherwise can be more sophisticated. Storytelling and pace can be more poetic, and given that Dynamite Entertainment has produced more adult-targeted stories like The Boys and Vampirella, it does seem like a strong possibility. Perhaps not as far as some of the stuff you'd see in those comics, but you get the point. Warner Brothers also has allowed some of their properties to get a more mature adaptation in the past as well. But of course, a Ben 10 series aimed at kids is another possibility, and more likely what they're gonna end up doing. But it's fun to think about all the different ways the series could go. And until we get more details, speculation is all we have. Though whatever version of Ben 10 we get, I still think it's important to support it either way, because it ensures the franchise's future as a whole. Like I said, we know nothing about the comic so far. On the off chance it ends up not being as great as we hope, if we allow it to garner no interest, then that might be mistaken as fans no longer having interest in Ben 10 as a whole, rather than just the comics themselves. It's the same reason why I still feel like we should support the reboot, even if it's not your favorite thing. Sending it nothing but hate basically just serves to work against Ben 10. If we give this comic our support when it drops, then it shows that there is still an interest in the show. If the comic ends up being good, then we've secured a new iteration of the franchise that we're happy with. If we end up not liking it, then at least we gave it a shot and showed that there was an interest, and perhaps it'll eventually get rebooted again into something we do like TMNT, how every version of the show is a new iteration, and different audiences connect with it in different ways. But if we don't give it any attention at all, then that might tell Warner Brothers that we just don't care about Ben 10, period. And we can't let them think that, right? Anyways, while we wait for the comic, you can still check out my crossover comic 5 years later, which is currently being adapted into a motion comic. I'm still in the middle of an upload hiatus working on the series, but when I heard this news, I couldn't resist throwing together a video with my thoughts and emphasize that supporting Ben 10 in any way, shape, or form is only beneficial as a whole going forward. Let me know what you're looking forward to in a Ben 10 series down below, what you're hoping to get out of it, the things you'd want to see. Let's get some discussions going. I also might throw up a poll in my community tab as well. Until then, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And as always, keep it fizzy.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.